Hey everyone, welcome to the 10 secrets to be able to increase your user retention of your application. I'm Fergus Hurley, product manager at Google, focused on improving the quality of the Android ecosystem.
I'm Joe Castorena. I'm with the Google Play BD team.
And I'm Ricardo, engineering manager in Google Play. So today, we're going to spend some time together to understand how the Play console can help you create great apps that captivate your users and achieve great user retention. To do that, we're going to spend a good amount of time thinking about performance. We're going to have a focus on app performance and technical quality. And we're going to look at how you can achieve that throughout your app lifecycle. Finally, we're going to look at how Play is going to reward all of you as developers for focusing on app performance and technical quality. First, so why we'll focus on app performance? Why does it matter? And the reason is pretty simple. Some people say that there is an app for everything. Thing is, there is not a high-performing app for everything. And high-performing apps achieve great and high user retention. And that's why performance matters. A high-quality app that doesn't crash and doesn't stutter is critical to achieve that high user retention. Users love these great experiences, and they have no reason to leave when they have a great performing app. For you as developers, it's a great differentiator from other apps that may offer similar functionality to yours. A couple of numbers that you may have seen, we have shown them earlier today, but here is some data points that suggest why creating a high-quality app matters. Summarizing, if you create an app that doesn't really perform that well, users are going to notice, and they're going to mention it in their reviews. Other users are going to see it, and this is going to spread around. When we look at reviews that have been written in the Play Store, 50% of the time people left a 1-star, they were mentioning stability and bugs in the app. 60% of the time they were leaving you 5 stars. It was because you focused on speed, usability, design, and all these great things. We asked a few developers around, and here is one that we also showed yesterday. Busuu, which is a language learning app which is used worldwide, made a big investment on performance. It's part of their culture, and with that focus and focusing on the technical performance of their app, they improved their star rating from 4.1 to 4.5 stars, which is a pretty big jump if you think about it. So we're going to focus and walk through a few features on how. There you go. Focus on a few features that are going to help you create high-quality apps throughout the life cycle of your development, from before the launch to when you're about to go live to when you are fully live and you want to understand and iterate your app performance. And these are going to be our 10 secrets. So the first one that I'm going to mention before launch is the pre-launch report. We mentioned it today in the keynote. It's in the play session. Pre-launch report summarizes issues that we found when testing your app automatically against a collection of physical Android devices. We think that is already greatly contributing to the success of apps, and already thousands of developers are using that. Pre-launch report, behind the scene, is powered by the Firebase Test Lab for Android. It's basically our data center packed full of Android devices where you can test your app. Pre-launch report does it automatically. If you want to do your own custom testing, custom scripts, and such, you can integrate with the Firebase Test Lab for Android and run your own custom scripts against physical devices from Android Studio, from your continuous build, and such. Key part of pre-launch report that you can find in the Play console is what we call app stability testing. We have a robot crawler that automatically crawls and plays with your app for every APK that you upload to the alpha or beta channel in the Play console. It crawls the app automatically for 5 minutes, and it tells you if it detects any crashes. And you get the little red indications there. Which means that if the robot detects a crash when your APK was in alpha or in beta, it's a crash that didn't reach production, because you can then fix it before your app goes to prod, and your users will not leave a 1-star review because of that. A vast majority of Play top developers have adopted the Play pre-launch report since when we launched it last year, and since then, we've performed over 6.5 million crawls over hundreds and thousands of APKs. These numbers are nice, but the best one is the impact for users. 85% of the time, when the pre-launch report detected a crash, the app was not then later launched to production. And this means that millions of users have been spared from a crash that would have otherwise affected them. The first big change and announcement that we're making today is this one. You may have heard, obviously, about Android O and the latest developer preview and such. So we took a bunch of Pixel phones, and along with other devices, we made them available to you in the pre-launch report. You can now test very easily how your app performs on Android O. You just have to upload an APK to the alpha or beta channel in the Play console. And by the end of this talk, or by the end of tonight dinner or the concert, you get the result back, and you get to see how your app performed when executing against Android O. So this was secret number one. Android O preview available in the pre-launch report for all of you starting now. Second secret is more pre-launch report features. Not only we add more devices, we invest also in the functionality that it offers. To allow the robot to crawl more of your app with data that you control, you can now specify test credentials that the robot will use to pass through login screens and explore more of your app behind those login screens. We've improved the way the robot captures screenshots and videos during the crawl. Specifically, we now take into account the structure of your app, the activities that is composed of, and the transition therein, to cluster screenshots intelligently, so you get to see at a glance how your different parts of the app look and feel, which is kind of useful if you want to spot if you have, for example, visual inconsistencies across form factors or across languages. And finally, we also automatically scan your app for vulnerabilities and privacy leaks. We added a bunch of scans and new detectors over the last year, so now we capture up to, I think, 30 different types of vulnerabilities and privacy issues, be it the usage of outdated libraries that have known problems, or be it coding patterns that you have that result in leaking identifiers. So if you've not already given it a try, you can go to the Play console now, opt into the pre-launch report, and the next APK you will upload to alpha and beta will undergo all these treatments and analysis. A number of developers, like Paul, CEO of Playdemic, have found that it's really helpful to give them that sense of security to go to production safely. So definitely consider giving it a try. And so this is secret number 2, more features in the pre-launch report. The next step is you're about to go live, and you have to make distribution decisions. The moment when you go live is one of the most criticals in your app lifecycle, because this is when your users will discover your app or your new features for the first time. And Android today gives you an amazing reach thanks to the diversity of Android devices across capabilities and price points. But we heard from many of you that navigating the device space and targeting the right devices can be a bit of a challenge. And so we have made a number of changes. As you may have heard yesterday, we have created a brand new device catalog in the Play console. You go from the long list of checkboxes that you have on one side to a full-featured device catalog across the thousands of devices that you can target. It's not just nice to look at. There is a bunch of things that it can do for you. First, for each device, you get full device specs: RAM, GPU, system on chip, screen size, OS version, and everything. We also group different models, different SKUs that belong to the same model, so you can see all the common devices in one go. You can search by spec. You can search, for example, for all devices that have a given characteristic, like having at least a couple of gigs of RAM. And for every search or slice that you create, we tell you how many installations, which rating, and how much revenue is coming from that particular slice. What do you use that for? Use that for what we call device exclusion rules. You can now choose to target your application to a selection of devices under your control. For example, if you're developing a rich graphics game, you may choose to target only devices that have at least 1 GB of RAM, because that is the minimum under which your game will run satisfactorily. You can also set similar exclusion rules, for example, on system on chip, because maybe you have detected a particular issue with the system on chip, and you want to temporarily limit distribution to those devices until you get a fix, and you can resume distributing to those. Whenever you create an exclusion rule, we tell you exactly how many users, how much rating, and how much revenue is going to be affected by excluding those devices. So you can make this decision consciously and know whether it's worth doing it or not. Finally, we've updated the Play console throughout. So from many different places in the Play console, you can link straight into device catalog, be it from reviews, be it from the stats pages, and such. So this is secret number 3, brand new device catalog and targeting capabilities. The last one that I want to mention briefly, and you may have heard in a session earlier today, is a brand new release dashboard. Until now, looking at statistics in the Play console was a bit sad, because you get limited analytics capabilities, and they only updated once a day, and sometimes it would take 2 days. So we decided to change that a lot. You get a brand new release dashboard and associated statistics that update by the hour and capture all the significant information that describe your application status, be it crashes, ratings, installation and installations as they happen, so you can monitor your releases while they are in progress. For key information, like ratings and crashes and reviews, they come in real time, so you can detect the moment your release goes out if there is a problem coming, and you can take action immediately. And so this was number 4, a brand new real-time monitoring dashboard for your releases. Fergus, yours.
Thank you. Great. So we've talked about before release, during release. Now we're going to talk about the data from the field and how you can be able to use that to be able to improve the quality of your application. The first area to talk about here is reviews. So we launched reviews analysis last year at Google I/O. This enables you to be able to see what topics people are talking about in your reviews and how those topics are having a positive or negative impact on your rating in the store. This is where we're putting Google's machine learning team to work for you to be able to extract those topics and be able to also see how you're comparing with other apps in your category with the peer benchmarks that we offer. Now, up until today, it was only available in English. Now we're making it available in the second most popular language on Google Play, which is Spanish. Another major market for Play developers is Japan. So we're also enabling you to be able to see the topics that people are talking about in Japanese. One of the big limitations that people have had with interacting with users on Google Play and responding to reviews is that we haven't had a full review history. When a user would update their review, you wouldn't be able to see the previous review that they've written. Now we're enabling you to be able to see the full thread of the history of any communication you've had and they have had with you in our review section. If a user deletes their whole review, you won't see the history, of course, but if they keep changing their review, you can be able to have a fluid conversation with them now. Developers have been getting great results from reviews. We've seen a 50% increase in the number of developer responses over the past year. And the reason they're doing that and interacting with reviews is because they see users increasing their star rating as a result. We now have an updated rating section in the Play console where you can be able to see what is the change in rating that users are doing if you've replied to them, and what is the change in rating if you haven't replied to them. And you can be able to make the decision yourself as to whether this is a wise investment of your time to be able to respond to reviews. Finally, the last big addition to the reviews area that we're announcing today is the ability to be able to flag reviews. So we do a lot of evaluation on the reviews when they're posted on Google Play. Sometimes reviews that don't match our posting guidelines get through our evaluation. And if you think that one of the reviews does not match our posting guidelines, then you can be able to let us know, and we'll do another manual review and evaluation of that review and determine whether we should remove it or not. This is already... Thank you. Whoa. Thank you. So this has already been rolled out to a few developers, and it will be rolled out to all of Play developers over the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that. So that's the 5th secret. Reviews, and focusing on your reviews and the reviews analysis and reviews management tools that we have available to you. Now let's jump into the 6th secret, which is Android Vitals. Android Vitals was featured in the keynote yesterday. It's a big initiative at Google to be able to improve the stability and performance of apps across the whole Android ecosystem. The first thing we're doing is focusing on 3 core performance areas. Those are stability, render time, and battery. However, you'll see a lot more performance areas being provided to you over the course of the next year. We just launched the Android Vitals section in the Play Developer Console. This is where you can go and see today the data on your application from the users who have opted in. So, where does this data come from? This data is generated from the hundreds of millions of users who have opted in to share their device usage and diagnostics data with Google and our partners, you. So, we're now making that available to you for the first time. And we're very excited for you to be able to use this data and improve your apps as a result. You do not need to use an SDK to get this data. You do not need to change your app at all. You just need to go to the Play Developer Console and look at this data. Now, we're going to be making a lot of data available here for the first time. And we think this is going to change the dynamics within companies in terms of how they look at performance. Up until now, very few people within the company have seen the performance data on their application because they aren't running Android Studio themselves and looking at that performance data. Now that we're exposing that in the Play console, your product manager, your other engineers that you work with can be able to see that data and can be able to make the choice of whether you should invest in improving performance or building that latest feature. Now, to make it really actionable for you, we have generated this concept of bad behaviors. This is where, if you're in the bottom 25% for any one of these metrics, we will flag that to you and put a red exclamation mark on your application. This alerts you that this is an area where you should really invest in because you're underperforming compared to your peers. So this talk is about user retention. And here's a quote from the Kabam team of how much user retention has improved as a result of them focusing on performance. And so we hope that all of you will make performance a big part of your culture and your app development for us in the future. Great. So now we're going to jump into 3 other secrets that are all tied together. And I'm going to draw an analogy here to triathlons. I completed a couple of triathlons myself. And when you are training for a triathlon and you improve in one sport and you increase your fitness, you increase your performance in the other sports as well. And that's where, by improving in one performance area, you'll probably see performance improvements in the other areas. But you still need the knowledge and equipment to be successful in each one individually. So I hope you'll connect with the analogy. So let's jump into the first sport. Only joking. First performance area here. So stability. So stability is all about providing a reliable experience to your users. And we are providing a lot of insights here that you might not have been able to get from other crash reporting tools. And why would you care about this area? So what we found is that making a first impression on users is critical, as we all know. And that the data shows that if your app crashes a lot on the first day of use, you get 30% more uninstallations than if your app works well. So really focusing on these stability issues is critical to your user base. As I mentioned, this is data from the Android Vitals is from users who have opted in. Previously, the data that has been in the crashes and ANORs section of the Play console has come from users individually reporting events. Now that we have this data from the opted-in users, you can expect to see about a 100x increase in the crash data in the Play console. So that can give you a lot better coverage and a lot better insights into your app performance, while still covering 98% of Android versions. Now, I'm sure all of you are aware of the crashes and crash-free user rate and all that side of things. ANORs are a critical thing to focus on Android as well. An ANOR is application not responding. This is when your application is frozen for more than 5 seconds. In the Android Vitals section, we show you, broken down by app version, by device, and by Android version, what is your ANOR rate. Then you can click on, let's say, the ANORs from a specific app version, and you can be able to go in and see all the ANOR clusters corresponding to that version. And you can be able to then go in, click on a specific cluster, and be able to view the thread dumps and other diagnostic information about the devices, etc., to be able to really focus on fixing that issue. You can also be able to access the previous data source that we had for ANRs and crashes in the Play console if you'd like to see that data as well. Twitter has built a phenomenal application. It has an amazing, reliable experience. However, they were even able to learn things from the ANR data in the Play console when we gave them early access to this. And they were able to fix issues already with their application as a result. So I encourage you all to go and check out this section and see what you can fix. To recap in the stability area, we have two core things to focus on here: reducing your ANR rate and reducing your crash rate. Next, we're going to jump into rendering. So rendering is about providing a fluid experience to your users and having it so that they feel like they're getting a 60 frames per second experience on their device. 60 frames per second results in draw events happening every 16 milliseconds. So if you miss one of these draw events, your app starts to feel laggy. Even if you miss it by just 1 millisecond, then you've missed that frame and it appears at 32 milliseconds until that frame is redrawn. If you miss multiple events, then it really appears like it's a slow experience for the users, and the app has nearly even become frozen to a lesser extent than an ANR, but still not responding to their input. And this is about 700 milliseconds is what we found. We now give you the insights into this data in the Play console in terms of render times. We show you the distribution of render times, and we show you the potential root causes of why these things are happening. So you can be able to figure out if it's something to do with things happening on the UI thread. The two core metrics to look at in terms of render time are slow rendering and frozen frames. So slow rendering is when the percentage of users who experience more than 50% of their frames rendered at greater than 16 milliseconds. Frozen frames is when 0.1% of your users have experienced more than 0.1% of the frames at a render rate of greater than 700 milliseconds. Great. So now we've covered the 8 secrets. We're going to jump into the 9th secret here now, which is battery. So we all want to be able to have battery life last for the entire day. And we all, as app developers, want to reduce our usage on the battery when it's unnecessary. And this is where we're now going to start telling you when we think you are actually using the battery unnecessarily. This includes using the radios and the CPU. The first one is wake locks. This is where, when the device is idle, you're keeping a wake lock for more than an hour. In the Android Vitals section, each metric that I'm talking about for the bad behaviors here has a separate way for you to be able to diagnose and investigate the data. For the wake locks, we provide you the wake lock name, and you can be able to figure out where there is an issue there with a specific wake lock, and you go and investigate that specific one. We also link out from each of the performance areas to articles on the developer.android.com documentation, so you can be able to understand each one of these wake locks as well. The wake locks that you use within your application should not be completely unique per user, because otherwise you won't be able to get the aggregated view of them. We also have it broken down by app version, as you can see here. And then you can be able to see the distribution of wake locks. Finally, the last metric that we're introducing is wake-ups. So wake-ups are when you are constantly waking up the device when the device is idle. So we flag your application when you wake the application up more than 10 times per hour, and you have a high percentage of users who are impacted by that. This is another tab within the console. We give you the wake-up tag names here as well, so you can be able to figure out where the issue is. The two battery areas to look at: stuck wake locks and excessive wake-ups. Encourage you to check those out. and figure out where you are having an issue in your application potentially. And as I said, we will flag you with a red marker if you're in the bottom 25% of apps for each one of these metrics, so you know to look into that area. Great. Now I'm going to hand over to Joe to reveal, actually, one sec. I've got some bonus actual secrets for you guys, just on the Android Vital side. So we have many resources outside of the Play console to help you with improving your performance. The first one is to use developer.android.com. Tons of documentation on the performance areas in general, tons of videos, and from the Play console, we link out to the relevant ones as well. Next is to use Android Studio profilers that have been built into Android Studio 3.0, which was launched yesterday. And finally, Firebase Performance Monitoring is an SDK that you can include in your application so that you don't just need to look over the whole APK, but you can diagnose specifically within your APK, within a specific part of the APK, if there's an issue. And you can be able to instrument the application yourself. Out of the box comes network and startup time, but they are counters, so you can be able to set it up whatever way you'd like. Now we're going to hand it over to Joe for the final secret on rewards.
All right. It's now time for the best part. So why should you care? Why should you jump on this now? Well, reducing your one-star ratings, reducing your uninstalls, those seem like pretty compelling reasons. Those in addition to the things that Ricardo alluded to earlier, like reducing or getting a more stable app, leading to better user experience, leading to stronger engagement, longer retention, all these are really good reasons. But there's actually directly impactful reasons that relate to your app and its presence and its performance in the Play Store. This relates to Play's perceived quality of your app and the promotability that goes with it. Play has always strived to surface the highest quality apps for our users, and your app health is a key component to signal for that. App health is important for your search results in the store. It's important for the promotional and merchandising collections in the store. App health is also important for awards designations and collections like Editor's Choice and the Google Play Awards. So getting your app health right is one of the most fundamental things developers can do to be successful in Play. Play takes in various user signals to determine an app's promotability, and the app vitals point directly into that. For example, if an app crashes often, it could lead to a user having a really poor experience. They could probably wind up leaving you a poor review. You get more one-star ratings. They could even lead to lower usage and even uninstalls. All of this can negatively impact your promotability and your presence in the Play Store. So developing high-quality apps actually acts as like a virtuous cycle to where you have a better user experience, you're going to get better user reviews. Those better user reviews and ratings will get you better results and promotability within the store, which will drive more users, etc. The new and updated feature collection. This has been a long-time favorite of our users and developers in the Play Store. And frankly, it's a favorite of the Play team as well, because it's a great place to showcase the highest quality apps and games that are launching on any given week in the store. As you can imagine, app quality has been a key foundational factor when reviewing apps and determining their eligibility for consideration in this collection. And as you can imagine, these new app vital metrics that we're talking about are going to plug into this app quality review that we do on the apps. And then finally, we have the Google Play Awards. These celebrate the achievements of our developer community over the past year by recognizing the best apps and games across 12 categories. This year, we've introduced new categories to fully reflect the breadth of apps and games that deliver innovative experiences in the Play Store. We evaluate both the apps and games on overall design, on quality, and on user experience. And we're now going to be using the App Vital metrics to inform whether the apps have a strong technical performance as well. As luck would have it, the Google Play Awards ceremony is happening right after this session at 6:30 over on stage 3, and you're all invited. In fact, you're highly encouraged to join us. It's a fabulous celebration of the best across the industry and across your peers over the last year. So please join us. I'll turn this back over to Fergus so we can wrap up.
Thanks. Thanks, Joe. So we covered a lot of things today. And I hope you're excited about these 10 secrets, and that you'll be to refer your other coworkers to our BuzzFeed talk when it's posted on BuzzFeed later. Only joking, no, it won't be posted on BuzzFeed, but it will be posted on YouTube for all your colleagues to enjoy it. Please take a photo of the top secrets and send it to your team as well. And encourage you to use these tools and play around with the Play Console. There's a lot of tools in there. We rebranded the Play Developer Console as the Play Console because we realized that there is very valuable to many stakeholders in the organizations that are building applications. And so please go ahead, use the Play Console, and use the many tools that we mentioned today to have success. We're now going to open it up to Q&A, and we'll also be over at Sandbox Dome C after this and tomorrow. So we got mics here in the middle of the rows here. Please come up and ask us any questions you have. Thank you very much, everyone.